Hi, everybody. Welcome back to my third live for Aliens and Angels. Today is our third Q&A community chat, and the subject is, are all aliens of the same species? We have heard about the Greys, the Reptilians, the Lyrians, the Pleiadians, and more. But have you ever wondered if they evolved from one root race? Please post your questions and comments during the live chat. You are welcome to join our Facebook group called Aliens and Angels. All of the links are featured below in the description. Check me out, subscribe to my channels, leave me a comment, like my videos, and share this content with your friends. So without further ado, let's get started. Oops, my video failed to play. I don't know why. Let's try it again. Well, so much for my introduction. It says my browser has failed to play my video. I don't know why. Everything is set up properly. Let me just try one more time. If it doesn't work, we'll just say forget it. Okay, it's not going to work today. Let's go to the comments and say hi. So Don Rogers is here from March 4th Productions and also Canadian Spinja. Hi, guys. So glad you could make it. I'm really excited. I'm supposed to be streaming for the first time from Rumble, but I don't see it happening, and I don't know why. There it is. I am up on Rumble. So I'm up on Rumble, and I'm also up on YouTube. So that's pretty cool. And I'm probably up on X, although I'm not really checking it. So yeah, thank you everybody for joining me, and we'll just give it a couple more minutes, and hopefully some more people will come. And I have a few announcements. And the first announcement is, if you didn't catch my Wednesday show called The Quantum Guide Show, do check it out. Episode 170, I have a really exciting discussion with Philip Kinsella. Now, Philip is from England, and he is both an experiencer and a researcher, not just about aliens and ETs and UFOs, but about the whole phenomena, the psychic phenomena, the telepathy, everything. And he's a very, very brilliant man. And I was just so delighted to have him on my show and to have a discussion with him. Now, what's even more exciting is coming up on June 30th on this show, Aliens and Angels Live. Philip is going to join me, and we're going to be talking about, is there a difference between aliens and angels? It all depends, I guess, on how you slice it, dice it, or how you look at it. So yeah, so I invite you to join me for that. And just going to put this up, Don Rogers at March 4th Productions. If you haven't already done so, please do check out his YouTube channel. And I believe he's also streaming to Rumble. And he's got some very interesting content. And every Friday night, he puts out, I believe, a live show where it's called After Dark. And he talks to people from the secret space program and all the phenomena like that. There's also Canadian Spinja, and she's an amazing person. She's got several different podcasts on her channel, and she talks to people about all kinds of alternative ways of living and thriving, and all kinds of tips on how to do things for yourself. Hi, John P. Lovely to see you. Welcome to the show. So glad that you're here. And yeah, also John P. Adventures also has a YouTube channel that you might want to check out. And he's saying hi to Dawn. And hi to Canadian Spinja. And Canadian Spinja says hi to John. It's lovely. And yeah, we're a community for sure. And you're very welcome, Dawn. You're very, very welcome. And yeah, it's nice that everybody is saying hi to everybody and everybody's getting to know each other. Because in this community, we do take a fair amount of flack as being, tinfoil hat wearers um, and nut jobs and, fringe dwellers and all the rest. So at least we've got each other to keep us company. We're in very, very good company. Oh, John P. also points out I do UFOs and heights in Portugal. Wow, I didn't realize you were in Portugal. That's fantastic. So yeah, let's share with each other. So the other announcement, so yeah, please join me on June 30th, and I'll have Philip Kinsella on and as my guest, and we're going to make the the discussion very lively, and of course, all of your comments will be included, and you can be part of the show, so it's interactive. My second announcement is hopefully soon, when we get a few more people joining us in the live chat, I'm going to have a contest and I'm going to have a free giveaway. And I will be giving away some orgone generators, also some beautiful hand crocheted craft works from Canadian Spinja. And when she creates things, she puts a lot of love and high frequency and intention into her products. And if you live in North America, on the North American continent, I will be shipping those out. Whoever wins, I'll be shipping those out to you for free. And if you live outside of continental North America, you will need to pay for shipping. But besides that, it's a free giveaway, and I'm sure you're all looking forward to that. So please do share this podcast with your friends and on your Facebook and other socials. I'd really appreciate it. Help the show get a little bit more momentum, and eventually we'll be offering memberships, and we'll just take it away from there. But my Wednesday show is pre-recorded, although I'll probably be going live in the near future. That's the Quantum Guide Show. If you haven't checked that out, I interview people from all over the world, and they all have something very positive to add to humankind. So it's a very upbuilding, high frequency show. And then, of course, there's this show every Sunday where it's interactive with the live chat and audience participation. Yeah, so basically, I'll give you a few thoughts that I have about whether aliens or extraterrestrials are from one root race, or whether or not they have evolved from other kinds of animals or beings. And again, there is no right or wrong way of looking at this subject. Really, it depends on our perspective, our experiences, our knowledge base, our intuition. So there definitely is no right or wrong way of looking at it. But uh, I'm going to put out my thoughts. Oh, Dawn has something to ask here. I guess my first question on the subject is, do you mean on a spiritual level or a physical? I'm actually talking on a physical level, because I think we're more alike than ever on a spiritual level. So, like in my personal belief systems, Source is the ultimate creator of all things and is all things. And then I think there's different dimensional realities that we enter depending on our state of I guess our state of development. I would use the word evolution, but I'm not going to use that word here because I'm going to use it later on when I give my views on the whole concept of aliens and extraterrestrials. Are we from a root race or not? But I would say from level of spiritual. So it doesn't matter what we look like physically, we could end up being very much the same substance as we meet in the different dimensional realities and realms. So yeah, so I'm pretty much now starting off with on a physical level. So, my understanding from being aboard the big ship with the extraterrestrial, I would say brothers and sisters and cousins that I have met, in my experience on the big ship, we look very much alike. However, one of the big differences is many extraterrestrial groups are actually there. I guess you call them different races. We're human. We're a part of the human race, and then there's other races. But I think we're all very much one species, and they look very much like us. Except most of them are taller, larger framed, certainly more muscular, healthier, and more spiritually evolved. They're very mellow. I have never seen any aggression amongst any of them. And aboard the big ship, I take part in all kinds of modes of learning. And one of the modes of learning is I wear a device, and it looks a bit like a headband that a girl would wear on her hair that's kind of a inverted U shape, and you put it over the back, sort of the back of your skull, and then the arms come to the front, and there's two little circular nodes on the end, and they just rest gently on my temples. And while I'm in there, I am able to have what is very much like our virtual reality. And I'm getting information directly from the memory stores on the big ship. And while I was doing several of these learning sessions, I learned that all humanoids are from a root race. And the beings that created that root race would be very high level, very close to source. And not a lot is known about them because it was probably millions of years ago that this happened. And we all became one root race. And from that, we diversified. And of course, since then, there's also been genetic manipulation. So I'll give you an example. Some people believe that the reptilians evolved out of dinosaurs or lizards, and that avians evolved out of birds, different species of birds, and that over time they became intelligent and they became more like humanoids. And I sort of have a pro and a con to looking at it this way. The one thing I want to say is the theory of evolution is a human based theory. It's not substantiated by any scientific proof. Now, there is some diversification that goes on and adaptation. There is some cross, um, some cross species, um, what is like evolution, but the actual theory of evolution that humans evolved out of ape-like creatures and that sort of thing is really not well substantiated in factual science. There's no fossil record of it. Different species of beings or animals here on Earth just spontaneously sort of appeared or erupted all at one time. And then if they died out, then there was another sort of group that seemed to evolve or sorry, show up all at one time. And that's sort of how yeah, it shows up in the fossil record and in the scientific evidence. But there's no evidence of us, first being fish and then becoming land animals and evolution in that sense. So a lot of the ET, or I should say all of the ET or alien groups that I'm aware of also do not hold that belief because it's not very logical. But what is more possible and more logical is we do have proof that us as humans, our DNA has been altered. So somebody or something altered our genetics. So up until a certain point in history, we were not as far along physically or mentally as we are now. Well, I'm going to say that loosely because it seems that we're not in a very high state at this moment on planet Earth due to a whole lot of things that are beyond the scope of this podcast today. But and then all of a sudden, boom, they went from being hunter-gatherers to having these very complex societies that were able to switch to more plant-based foods and things like that. So there's that switching point. But there's also, prior to that, another switching point where we went from being very much like Neanderthals and Homo erectus and that sort of ancient um, fossil record type of being to the more advanced hunter-gatherer state. And so there is evidence of genetic manipulation at that point. And then, of course, when humans started to grow crops and that sort of thing. So when scientists look at our DNA, they find that we're actually missing two chromosomes, genes or chromosomes. I'm sorry, I'm not sure which. But anyway, the apes have two more than we have. And what's happened is somebody or something took our genetics and manipulated them, added some, took some away, and then removed the redundancies so that we could continue on as a new species. This is very well documented in the really ancient writings, the cuneiform and that sort of thing, as well as modern science. So at that point, there's that kind of manipulation. So that happened closer to now than when sources, beings created the root race that started intelligent humanoid beings from happening on the earth. So I hope I'm not confusing everybody, but so that's how I've come to understand that we are actually originating from one species, but then that one species, of course, has diversified into different races. And then there's been the genetic manipulation that has further divided us up. And so that's sort of how I see it. But I'm not saying I'm right and that you guys are wrong, not at all. I'm just saying that's how I understand it. So, we don't know, maybe beings who were very humanoid and very advanced and were created from a root race, maybe they themselves have been genetically manipulated. We don't know. And then maybe they have gone to other worlds where there were beings that were maybe lizard-like, and they manipulated with their DNA and added their DNA, and that might be how we got reptilians. And there might be other beings that have gone to other worlds and tinkered with their genetics and added some of their genetic components to cause there to be a race of beings generally who were used as workers. Because the beings that are very advanced, they like to think of themselves as the architects and possibly the foreman for different projects, but they need an army of beings to actually do the work. So that seems to be what's behind a lot of the tinkering. But then again, there are so many species of humanoids and even non-humanoids, and we can't even wrap our heads around how big the galaxy is, never mind the universe, and how old some of these civilizations could be, millions of years more advanced than us. So it's very hard from our perspective to reach out and take a guess as to what actually happened. So we're just theorizing here. So if any of you have any comments or questions or anything you would add to this, please go ahead and put that in the live chat. So yeah, so that's the way that I look at it, and it seems to be, fairly comprehensive and a bit complicated, I'm sure. And so just wondering if anybody else has anything else they want to add to that. And while we're waiting, I'm going to show you a brief clip of I don't know if this is real or true, guys. And I don't even know if now my browser is going to actually stream this or not. And maybe it's because I had this page open for a while. I'm getting things ready before the show, but I'm going to see if we can play it. And but I guess before I play it, I should add this banner underneath that says that I'm going to be using this under the fair use clause for educational and analytical purposes only, in case there's a copyright. So there's just a short clip of some beings that were here on Earth. Now, some say they were models, but if you look at the height of them, uh, they're so much taller than the woman who's standing there as an assistant or whatever she is. They're so much taller, and they're very similar to the beings that I saw on the big ship. Now, on the big ship, that was about the average height of the beings. Some were taller and some were certainly shorter, but most of them were about that height. And the women looked very similar to that as far as how skinny or how much muscle they had on their arms and legs. Very similar. I'll play that again in a few minutes so you can get another look. The men, though, were much stockier and much more muscular. And they looked a bit like the beings that are done in the stonework that's been left behind from the ancient civilizations, where we've got images of the Anunnaki, where they're super muscular and they've got the big gnarly beards and the curly hair, and they were very much like that. Not all of them, just some of them. There's many different what I would call diversifications of the humanoids that were on the big ship. The skin tones ranged from darker browns to medium to light browns. That would be the majority. Some were very pale, like Anglo-Saxons or white people here on Earth. But some even had like a bluish teal tinge to their skin, and others had more of an orange tinge. And that was really interesting. Now, the beings that I call the angelic beings, even though I'm sure they weren't angels, I just call them that because we don't have names. We don't speak English. We use telepathy on the big ship. And so I've given them names just to sort of differentiate between the different beings that I'm talking about. And and they were a very pale skinned. I was surprised to see them because there wasn't a lot of what we would call white people or beings on the big ship. So just going to go. Um, Here's a comment from Don Rogers again, and I'll read out all the comments for those that are listening on an audio only platform. Don Rogers from March 4th Productions says, I've had several guests on my show, and this usually ends up in one of three places, all of which could be one, the Anunnaki, two, the Galactic Council, or Enlil and Enki. And I would say absolutely. And Don also adds the gene altering. Yes, the gene altering for sure. I agree. I think that is probably spot on as well. Um, let's see what Canadian Spinja has to say. She says, no wonder we have such a hard time achieving the perfect model look. We aren't even of the same species. Yeah, true enough, true enough. So I'm just going to play that again, um, just so you can get another look at these beings and try to imagine, are they human models that have been made to look like aliens, or are they actual aliens? I don't know. I don't even know where I got this clip from, so I can't give proper credit as much as I would like to. But let's have another look. So you can see there, they're about twice as tall as the woman. And I would say an average woman's height would be maybe around 5'4". And these are, almost twice as tall as she is. So they could be, you know, 8, 9, 10 feet tall. We just don't have women on our planet, human women that are that tall. The other thing is they're very proportionate. It's not like they are giants, have that illness that causes people to become giants. And generally they're a little bit misshapen. No, they look perfectly in proportion. And their limbs are long and they're lean, but they're muscular. And the other thing is they also have kind of a waxy finish to their skin. Now I know it could be makeup. I get that. And like I said, please just post in the comments if you disagree. Feel free to disagree. But I thought that was rather compelling and very congruent with my experience aboard the big ship. Now, if any of you have any clips of aliens, please do send them to me. I'd love to feature them on the show. If you know where they're from, the source, that would be really great. And if you don't, that's okay too. But for analysis, I think it's very, very helpful. And then I want to talk about the grays because that seems to be a whole different kettle of fish here, um, as it were. Not saying that they're fish people, but they seem to be quite a different thing. And so the information that we have received, that I've gathered, has been that they are, well, first of all, they're not all the same. There are differences between many different people who have experienced abductions and contactees, and they're different. An abduction is where you're taken against your will, and it's a very frightening, often a frightening experience. Although later, people like Nancy Thames and even Dolly Saffron have come to understand that although they were abducted as children, it was for a purpose, and they ended up having benevolent relationships with those beings. But there's a lot of diversity amongst grays. There's similarities. They all seem to be between 3 and 4 feet tall. They seem to have almost pigment, no pigment to their skin. And they tend to have big heads, large eyes. Usually their eyes are either red or have the appearance of being red, or have the appearance of being just black, like big plastic lenses. Now, it's my understanding that those are actually lenses that cover their eyes because they're very sensitive to light. That's why they don't have pigment in their skin. But anyway, so we'll start off by saying there's many different kinds of grays. And then there are grays who are supposedly from a planet called Zeti Reticulum. There are grays that are supposed to be from other star systems. There are grays that remote viewers have seen, and they have underground and underwater communities. And often there are grays that work with human intelligence agencies and experimental agencies, be it the military industrial complex, or private companies. I'm not sure. It's really hard to get any accurate information about these at all. And and then there are even some grays that claim to be us from the future, where this whole transhumanist thing ends up getting to the point where they do not have the ability to reproduce, and they look the way they look, and they need to come back in time to do genetic experiments to try to create hybrids of us from the future and now, to try to save our race. And what else am I missing? Oh, and then there are even some people who have come forward as whistleblowers who say that some of the alien or gray races are actually humans where they have taken deformed children and altered them to make them look like they're from outer space, to make them look like they're grays, because they want to do their own human initiated abductions to convince people that this is all just something made up, or just to add to the whole confusion of the whole everything. So I don't know how you want to slice it or dice it. So I think the grays are a little bit of a different thing. Um, I'm just going to say hi to BJ's Misadventures. Hi. Hello, welcome, and so good of you to join us. And lovely to see you on the show. Please do post your comments. You don't have to agree with me. You don't have to agree with anything anyone else says. You can have your own take on all of this, because we don't really have, a lot of hard factual evidence to go on. So we're kind of guessing and maybe even making it up. In case you have missed the video that I showed, the brief clip, I'll play it again. And as I mentioned earlier, these beings are very much like the beings from my experience. However, there is always the possibility that they're human and made up as models to appear as though they're extraterrestrial. So I will just play, it's very brief. I'll just play this again. So there you have it. And, I'm assuming the woman that's standing there in the uniform, she might be, 5'2" or 5'4". These beings are at least 3 feet taller than her. And it's very rare that we have women on Earth today, even in very high heels and platform shoes, that are like 8 or 9 feet tall. So I don't know what you think about that, but yeah, they're quite amazing. So in case you missed it, I'll just do a very brief recap. I won't get into the details. You can watch the replay to catch the details, because it's a bit of a mindful of information. But basically, my experience is that there were beings, very high level beings, very high very high, close to source, and they did create root races of humanoids. And then we've diversified over time. And then there's the other element that beings like possibly the Anunnaki have gone to other worlds and genetically mutated primitive species of humanoids, or even possibly other species, to get things happening, um, to create a bit of a slave race, or maybe for other scientific purposes. And but of course, I'm not an expert. I'm just putting the discussion out there. BJ's Misadventures says he's next. We're next door to him. He's in British Columbia. Hi, fellow Canadian. That's really cool. Yeah. So there's a very interesting movement of extraterrestrial enthusiasts here in Canada. And Dawn and Spinja and I are actually busy inviting people to come to our second meetup. We've already had a meetup in the mid-spring. We're going to have another one later in the summer. And I'm assuming it's going to be a small meetup, and we'll probably just do it at my house and do a barbecue in the backyard. So BJ's Misadventures, if you happen to find yourself coming over to Alberta in the summertime, possibly, I'm not sure, I'm going to guess in August, probably in later August, let us know, and you'd be certainly welcome to join us. And anyone else out there who finds themselves in the central to southern Alberta area in August would be welcome to join us. We don't have a name for the group yet, but we're all tinfoil hat wearers for sure. and it's lovely to meet up with each other, and we'll have a bit of a barbecue. If it turns out that we have a ton of people that are interested, then we'll probably rent a picnic spot at a park. So we don't have any firm plans in place. It's just something we're looking forward to because we are a community. We're like a family, and it's nice to support each other and just to meet face to face. It's very cool. So yeah, so I covered the root races and genetic tinkering and for various purposes. Um, I've also talked a little bit about what the extraterrestrials that I've personally met are like. I can't speak to, the Pleiadians and Lyrians and all the others because I don't have any experience with them. And the other way that my experience is very different than a lot of people's is I consider myself a contactee, definitely rather than an abductee, and my experiences are more spiritual. So where the big ship is not here or there. It's not in this star system or that galaxy or anything like that. It's actually in trans-dimensional space. And because of that, beings from different dimensional realities as well as different physical locations can easily be brought aboard and have our training and our learning experiences. I'm just going to check out the chat again. Don Rogers says the tinfoil hat barbecue. Absolutely. I'm very comfortable with the term tinfoil hat. And another thing I thought that would be fun is I will provide one of those big Costco rolls of industrial strength tinfoil, and we can make our own tinfoil hats. And we'll take pictures and we'll post that on social media about our get togethers. So, yeah, I'm totally comfortable with that. And John P. Adventures says, hello, brother, to BJ's Misadventures. And he says, LOL, nice to meet you too, Karen. And of course, he kindly says hello back to John. So that's nice. It's a small live chat, but it's coming. And for those of you who missed the announcements, I'll just briefly go over them again. And that is that last Wednesday on my other show, called the Quantum Guide Show, I had a wonderful discussion with Philip Kinsella. And Philip is in England, and he is both an experiencer. He was an abductee, and he's also a researcher. And he's going to be on Aliens and Angels Live on June the 30th. So you might want to mark your calendar, and that way you could interact with him directly. And he's just a wealth of information, a super nice guy, and I've just very much enjoyed getting to know him. So you might want to mark your calendar for June the 30th. And then the other thing that I was talking about is our free giveaway. So let me just change the banner. I think this one. I'm just getting used to using StreamYard, guys. So forgive me for if I'm a little bit, sketchy on here. But if you're a member of our Aliens and Angels group on Facebook and you come to the live chat, you'll be eligible for the giveaway contest. And what I'm going to be doing is uh, I'm probably going to just use a D20 dice and toss it underneath a camera so that you can see what number comes up. Before that, I'll get everybody on that episode to choose a number, and then I'll roll probably a D20. If we have more members than that, I'll have to look for a dice that has more numbers than 20. And whoever wins will get a free giveaway. And I'm going to be giving away some orgone generators. Here's an example of one of my orgone generators. So I'm not sure if it will be this one. Whoops. Oops, I have it turned the wrong way. If it will be this one or something like it, or some pendants, or I'm not really sure, maybe a wand, I'm not sure, but it'll be a few different of my orgone generators. And then I will also be including one of Canadian Spinja's handcrafted crochet works. And when she does crochet, she not just does crochet, she also imbues them with her essence and her energy and high frequency energy and positive intentions. And so I'll be bundling that up and mailing that to the winner. And those of you who are who live on continental North America, I'll be shipping that to you for free. And if you live in England or Australia or someplace else, Hawaii, then you will be required to pay for shipping because it's quite expensive. But the items are absolutely free. So that's the giveaway. So do tell your friends and share this video out wherever you can. I would really appreciate it. And we'll get more people in the live chat and participating. And then, when we get a few more people participating, then we'll do the giveaway contest. So I'm pretty excited about that. So do join us each week. I'm not sure which week we'll be doing it, but we'll be doing it fairly soon. So so please do feel free to join the Aliens and Angels group on Facebook. And there's some amazing content on there. I've got people like Preston Dennett and, of course, Don Rogers and Canadian Spinja and other people who have joined, and they post their shows. I post all of my shows, all of my content on there. Um, Robert Khalil from Typical Skeptic, he posts on there, and a whole bunch of other people. And it's really good quality content. And the other thing is we have very little, if any, drama in that group. So it's a very nice group. You just click on there when you want to and just find a wealth of information, get caught up in your favorite podcasts. It's really lovely. So please do join us there. So BJ's Misadventures says, I am interested in quantum physics. Oh, yeah, isn't it a fascinating subject? I think we're going to get into that in another Aliens and Angels live coming up, probably in July. I think we'll switch into some quantum physics because really our extraterrestrial and alien and angelic brothers and sisters all operate on a quantum level. So, they understand quantum physics way better than we do. And an example of that would be when they travel across star systems, galaxies, even in the universe. They don't start off at point A and travel for thousands of years to eventually get to point B. No, they just have a way of point A becoming point B. And on the big ship, as I've described earlier in this program, when we move the big ship, which is in interdimensional space, also intergalactic space, how we do it is point A becomes point B. And it's actually quite a lovely process. And we participate in it. And it's kind of like a celebration day when we move the big ship and we all participate in actually using our consciousness to join with the big ship, which is also conscious. And that's how we move it from point A to point B. So quantum physics is super important. And we got someone else here. Tennessee, Kentucky, Bigfoot. Welcome. Hello, wonderful people, he says. Hello. So lovely to have you join us. And Stanton Mick. Hello, everyone. Lovely. Lovely to see you. Thank you for joining us. So I'm not going to recap too much because we've already done that several times, but I do recommend that you check out the replay of this show. We've talked about are aliens all of one species? Were they created as one root race and then diversified from there? Were our genetics tinkered with, and other beings on other planets, their genetics tinkered with by higher extraterrestrial groups like the Anunnaki for specific purposes or scientific purposes. And then the whole issue of the grays and where do they fit in to the whole thing? Because they're a little bit different. They're humanoids, but a little different. Some believe that they are kind of a construct, a worker bee construct, rather than an actual divine conscious being. And of course, there's the possibility they're us from the future, and all kinds of theories are out there. So please feel free to post your comments and your questions. There's no stupid questions. They're all valid. None of us have to agree in any way. This is a safe place where we can express ourselves and share our thoughts with each other. And that in that way, we upskill each other and we learn. So BJ's Misadventure says, that looks like the old Templar Knights life circle, that simple symbol on the triangle. Oh, are you referring to the video that I showed? If so, I will actually play that again if you guys would like me to. Don Rogers says hi. And Tennessee, Kentucky Bigfoot says hi to BJ's Misadventures and everybody else. Yeah, it's a nice size group. And so yes, please do feel free to comment. I'm going to play that brief video clip I have one more time. So I'm going to switch back to my fair use banner at the bottom. Oops, there's the fair use. So I'm playing this under the fair use clause, where I'm just sharing portions of a video for educational and analytic purposes. And here is. So you can see they're very tall and but proportionate. They could be human models. They've got platform shoes that are probably, well, could be as much as 6 inches, but they still tower above the other woman. And human women generally are not that tall. So I'm not saying this is absolutely ETs or that these are just models. I don't know. Feel free to give me your thoughts on it. I want to say hi to Woo Riders DJ. Sorry, DG. Woo Riders DG. I was once lonely, am no more. Greetings and salutations to you all. Very lovely. Welcome. And everybody else has said welcome. Tennessee, Kentucky Bigfoot says, wow. Yeah, wow is right. I'm assuming you're referring to the clip I showed. So as we talked about it before, these are very much like the beings that I experienced aboard the big ship. And Woo Riders DG says, stay blessed and highly favored. Back to work. 103 degrees outside. Oh my God. You know, we're here in central and south Alberta, and actually in central Alberta, and it's been really cold. Like it was only 6 degrees Celsius yesterday. I'm not sure what that is in Fahrenheit. And today it's about maybe 16 degrees out, which would be probably about 60 degrees Fahrenheit. So it's been really cold. We've had a few hot days, but not much. Spring is still lingering and summer hasn't quite kicked off yet. So we're a little bit envious. I'm finding it quite chilly and cloudy, and we've had quite a bit of rain the last few days. So, like I said, we're a bit jealous of your hot weather, but when it gets really hot here, we'll be going, oh my gosh, I wish it was spring again. And I wish we had that nice cool weather again. So yeah. So anyway, let's take a look at the comments one more time. Oh, Don Rogers says 6 degrees is 42 degrees Fahrenheit. Yeah, Chilly, definitely chilly. And Tennessee, Kentucky, Bigfoot says 42 degrees Fahrenheit is cold. Yeah, like I'm not kidding when I say that I'm jealous. And BJ's Misadventure says it's 19 degrees Celsius here where I am. That's 66 degrees Fahrenheit. So that's still chilly. That's still grab me a sweater and warm fuzzy slippers, for sure. So yeah, Canada, it can get pretty damn hot in the summer, but our winters last for, up to 6 months long. When I say winters, meaning from when it gets really cold, when snow starts until it's all gone and melted and starts to warm up, it's pretty cold. And then we have 6 months that are pretty awesome. But you know what? There's a pros and cons to anywhere where you live. And it is really interesting how we adapt. So that takes our conversation a little bit back to our aliens and of the same root race. Do you folks have any thoughts? Those of you in the chat, anything you want to add? Do you think we're all from one root race, and we've been tinkered with along the way by advanced races, or do you think we've evolved separately and from lower life forms? What's your take on it? I'd be really interested in seeing what you have to say. And like I said before, there's no right or wrong answer. We don't know. We're all speculating. I know from my experience what I learned, but that may be true in that dimensional reality, and it may not be true in this dimensional reality. And then you take the whole multiverse concept and multiple timelines, and it gets very complicated very, very fast. So, everyone can definitely have their say and have their unique position on what they think is going on. So we're coming down to the last 10 minutes of the show, and I just am thrilled to bits for everybody who joined us on the live chat. And I hope you'll all come back next week. We're not quite ending yet. I'm just biding my time, waiting to see if you have any comments you'd like to add to the conversation. But I'm hoping you'll come back every Sunday if you can at noon Mountain Time. And that's 11 a.m. Pacific and 2 o'clock Eastern Time. And join in the discussion because this is actually a community chat. It's a Q&A. It's a time for people to participate in the subject. And so this is your show as well as mine. Let's have a look at what Don Rogers has to say. Don Rogers at March 4th Productions says, I think Source may have used the same template for many species on different planes. I would agree. We all seem to be the star shape, with a head, 2 arms, and 2 legs. It seems to be the most easy for us to get around, move, acquire food and things that we need, do tasks, think with our heads, that sort of thing. It does seem to, at least, it does seem to be the common template for sure. And Tennessee, Kentucky, Bigfoot says, I think we all might have come from Maldek, reading from the Appalachian dragon. I think we all might have come from Maldek, reading from Appalachian Dragon. Now, I'm not familiar with that writing, so if you want to add any content or let people know where they can find more information on that, that would be really, really great. But you might well have something there. I don't know. As I've said before, I'm not speaking fact here. I'm theorizing, as are everybody else, because we have been, in my opinion, we have been dummied down. We have been controlled. We've been programmed for thousands of years, and our knowledge base has shrunk substantially, and as have the size of our brains, according to the fossil record. And so now we're expanding. Now we're coming back and we're regaining. We're also moving from the era of Pisces to the era of Aquarius, and we're also moving, I think, from or to, I'm not sure, I'm not an expert on this, but the Kali Yuga. And so there's always cycles within cycles within cycles. And there's cycles of expansion and there's cycles of contraction. And so we're now moving into an expansion phase where we're learning more, we're understanding more, and we're actually, I would say, we have real accelerated learning. I mean, I was born in the 1950s. I know it was a long time ago, but still, to me, it's not that long ago. And during that time, what we thought we knew was so different from now. We had televisions. We didn't even have color televisions yet. We did not have computers. We did not have cell phones. We did have telephones. We had telephones and black and white televisions. And it wasn't until the 70s that people started to get color TVs. And it wasn't until I would say the late 80s that we had any concept of, well, then we had computers. My first computer was 56K. It was pretty lame looking back compared to what I can use today, and things have just exploded. And then cell phones came and things have just taken off from there. The internet, computers are amazing, what we can do with them. And everything is just progressing at an accelerated rate. But along with technology is our learning and our understanding. And I would say especially the last 20 years, but especially the last 10 years. And I find it really enjoyable to learn and to understand concepts that I never dreamed were possible. When I was a kid, I did look forward to this day, and I'm very blessed to still be alive and be able to talk about it and know something about it today. But again, I don't have all the answers. Tennessee, Kentucky Bigfoot says Maldek was the planet that was destroyed, and the dragons moved the moon to Earth. Again, this is a reading. Yeah, it's an interesting concept because there are many indigenous cultures here on Earth who have stories and legends and a record of there being a time when there was no moon. And there's also tons of evidence that the moon is a construct and not necessarily a planet, and that there have been planets that have been destroyed in our solar system, and that's why we have the asteroid belt. So this is very interesting. And the whole concept of dragons is very new to me. But as I understand it, it can mean literal physical dragons, but it can also mean interdimensional beings that we call dragons, that represent themselves as dragons. And according to Paul Anthony Wallace, if you watch The Fifth Kind, he talks, or read his books, he talks about how in the Old Testament of the canonical Bible, that the words have been changed, and a lot of the words that refer to God now actually meant dragons in the past. So you might actually have something there. Absolutely. So we've only got a couple minutes left. Again, I'll go over the announcements. We're having Philip Kinsella join us on June the 30th, so you don't want to miss um, um, Aliens and Angels Live on that day. Philip, for those of you who aren't familiar with him, he is an abductee, so he's an experiencer and he's a researcher. He's published several books, very interesting information, interesting man. And if you want to check out on my channel, the Quantum Guide Show, which is also on Odyssey and Rumble and on YouTube, you can check out the show that I just did with him last Wednesday, Quantum Guide Show episode 170. And so, again, I just want to mention everybody, please do check out everybody else's channels. Everybody here has some valid and amazing content to offer each other. So let's go and support each other and subscribe to our different channels and support by watching the shows, like the content that you like, leave comments. I think it's a wonderful thing. Oh, one more comment from Tennessee, Kentucky Bigfoot. He says, right, That is where the asteroid belt came from. We're also just learning this. Hey, Brother John, thank you for the time, and we'll catch up on this video. Wonderful. So that's it for the show for today, everybody. Again, thank you so much for joining me. I'm sorry for the little bit of problems I had with the technology, but I'm just going to add the outro now and wish everybody a wonderful week. And we'll see you next week on Aliens and Angels. Thank you for joining me for the Aliens and Angels podcast. Become the change that you wish to see in the world. Subscribe to my YouTube and other channels at Karen Holton TV. Click the like button, leave me a comment, and share this podcast with your friends. Check out my website at www.karenholtonhealthcoach.com to see my free resources and amazing products and services. All the links will be in the description below. As part of the Forbidden Knowledge Network, you will also find the Quantum Guide Show with Karen Holton on all audio platforms. A very special thank you to Andy Gambino and Anthony Exemplar from the Unidentified S4 channel for creating the beautiful introduction for this podcast. Until next time, keep up the good work.